Welcome everybody back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Smackdown has just gone off the air over here in the UK. It is from Berlin, Germany, and it was rather disappointing, to be honest. The one before Bash at Berlin, the pay-per-view tomorrow night, live on the WWE Network, and yes, we'll all be tuning in for it. SmackDown started with the megastar LA Knight with a monstrous reaction from the Berlin fans doing a open invitational match for his United States Championship. And who would answer that challenge? None other than Monday Night Raw and Germany's own Ludwig Kaiser, who got a bigger reaction than LA Knight. They had a bit of a standoff in the ring where LA Knight acknowledged the chance that Kaiser was getting. LA Knight playing a little bit of a heel in this one as well, just mainly because LA Knight was, of course, in Ludwig Kaiser's backyard of Germany. The match itself was actually pretty good. Good kickoff to Raw. As I say, the crowd was red hot all night. Ludwig Kaiser did have a lot of offense. It was a good back and forth between the two uh, guys in the ring for the United States Championship. A little bit annoying that again a Raw star comes to SmackDown. We're seeing this with Randy Orton tomorrow night and Gunther for the title, a SmackDown guy going for a Raw Championship. But again, maybe that has a prologue to later on when we eventually see the bloodline maybe reunite to the OG bloodline to get Jey Uso back over to SmackDown. Maybe that's some kind of deal that they'll work out. Yeah, really good back and forth in this one though, and the crowd wasn't actually that happy that LA Knight was victorious with the blunt force trauma. He picks up the win. And I don't think he's got a match tomorrow. I actually thought the open challenge was actually tomorrow and not tonight. So that proved me totally wrong for a start. But LA Knight rolls along. He needs a solid feud, I think, for the championship now. He needs somebody that they're going to get into a program with. I'm not quite sure who. There's a couple, it's a difficult one because again, we've said this week in, week out. If you're not facing Cody Rhodes and you're not part of the bloodline, the ongoing bloodline stuff on SmackDown, you really are a forgotten person. That's just how it is, and that's just how WWE are rolling at the minute on the SmackDown side. So SmackDown just hasn't felt the same. I know that the new bloodlines there and the OG ones came back and Roman has been back and now he got attacked a couple of weeks ago and he's not going to be back for another couple of weeks, but it's been rather bland on SmackDown. Whereas Raw, we've had so much stuff going on Raw recently, and it's been really refreshing that Raw has kind of taken that mantra of the best show back from SmackDown, especially over these last 6 weeks or so. I think, maybe since, barring Roman's return at SummerSlam and that first week on SmackDown, even the second week that Roman was there on SmackDown, it just felt flat, really. And SmackDown's kind of flat tonight, and we'll get into a bit more of it now. They did do a long video with Gunther and Randy, and I did feel this was a very stop-start episode of SmackDown. It just it didn't flow nicely. There was too much, it is a go-home show, I know, before Bash at Berlin, and you do kind of expect a lot of interviews but there was just more video packages than anything else. And I would much rather have them hit an in-ring promo or something along those lines rather than let's go backstage and do a video package of something that happened weeks ago, or let's hype up the match, but we're going to hype it up with a video package rather than hyping up with an in-ring promo or a backstage promo. So it didn't hit the mark. It was probably the weakest international show that SmackDown have done since they've started coming over and doing a lot of international shows. And I felt a bit sorry for the German fans tonight because didn't really get their money's worth, in my opinion. Um, Quite interestingly enough, though, one of the best matches on the show was from a match when I first looked at. I just rolled my eyes and was going to go and take a piss. Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews squared off again. So this is Ligo Tel Fantasma, but they're called La Garza. Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza, both, funnily enough, just re-signed with the WWE recently, new multiple year contracts, as has Nikki Cross. as well, as a side note on this. And this tag match was actually a bundle of fun, and I didn't really, Baron Corbin has come on leaps and bounds since going from kind of obscurity to NXT, had a good run down there. And is obviously there was a team of Apollo Crews. It's a bit of a weird combination, but it works. They're both hard hitting. Obviously, Apollo's got the sort of more of the speed and the agility factor, whereas Corbin is more methodical and strong and will hit a big power move. They work really well together, and actually Garza and Humberto Carrillo really work well together, and you kind of expect it. Kind of lucha action from those guys, but they really work. I think it was actually a really well worked tag match. A lot of continuity in there, a lot of good double team moves, and was so much better than what I expected it to be. I had no hopes whatsoever of this. However, it was Liga del Fantasma hitting like a an assisted knee for the win on this, and it was a really good match. Though I want to see more of those two teams. Obviously, the tag team championships are on SmackDown, currently held by Z Bloodline. But yeah, really solid match. And again, to see these two teams in the future on SmackDown going at it against different teams, DIY, Street Profits, etc., would be a bundle of fun. So a really impressive match considering again, the teams in it just didn't really do, didn't think it was going to do it for me. Now, we just mentioned the bloodline, we just mentioned the profits, and we just mentioned DIY. That was perfectly timed and deliberately timed because we then go to a backstage well, not even backstage, it was another kind of typical new bloodline type promo with Tanga Tonga, Jacob behind Solo Sikoa. And he was saying that, that everyone has got to acknowledge him. He said he sacrificed Jimmy as his first kind of action, as when he took over the bloodline. He then took out the wise man, and then he took out Roman Reigns to earn the right to be called the tribal chief. Now, that wasn't strictly true. We know that Jacob Fatu really did assist on that on last week. But he did actually mention that next week on SmackDown there is going to be a triple threat tag team match involving the Bloodline, the new Bloodline, Tango and Tonga, Tama and Tonga, whatever they're called, Tanga and Toa, I don't know, TNT. There you go, that'll do. Against Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. Street Profits, and against the DIY. Jesus, I'm stuttering more than Bubba Ray Dudley tonight. DIY, Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, the Street Profits against the Bloodline next week. TNT's Bloodline. Jacob Fatu did try and put the Ula Fella at one point on Solo Sikoa, and he moved it away. And he moved it away because he then said that he will, or that he's coming for the winner of Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens at Bash at Berlin. Obviously, that match scheduled for tomorrow night, and they're going to have a face-off in a minute, which we'll get to. So Solo Sikoa putting himself back in the main event picture, going after the winner of Cody and Kevin tomorrow night. I don't know about that. I'm really not sure that that's gonna, Solo, he did lose. I know Roman come back and all of that stuff, and that kind of put him into lose against Cody, but I don't know if we're kind of ready for that again. I think Cody he needs a proper feud, and you know that with Solo Sikoa in there, Roman's going to be involved and everything else, and it's not going to work as a proper feud for Cody. And he's not had one really since being the champion. He had a few little feuds before, didn't he? When he lost to Roman the first time, he went to a sort of program with Lesnar, program with Nakamura. He had before that, he even had a program with Seth Rollins. And he's had a couple of matches, with AJ Styles since he's been champion, and had that one with Logan Paul as well. But he hasn't really done it as champion, in my opinion. And maybe they're doing him the dirty, I don't know. But for me, without having like, you always look at title range, you look at John Cena, and he had a feud with Edge and Randy Orton and Triple H, and they were meaningful and they were going over a period of time. And it just feels like let's spin the wheel and see who's next for Cody Rhodes. And Cody and Kevin Owens really just come out of the blue. It was just like, we need to get Cody on the card. Who are we going to put him in the ring with? Oh, let's put him in the ring with Kevin Owens. And that's how it seems. It doesn't feel like there's a plan for Cody Rhodes at the minute. It just feels like it's taking it week by week, really, which is not the right way to do it. But Solo Sikoa is coming after the winner of Cody and Kevin, which nicely flows into the face-off at the top of the hour on SmackDown. There was a face-off between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. The interesting one on this, was a bit of a line here. Nick Aldis sort of gave the competitors the ring. Normally, the GM stays in the ring and oversees it, and Nick Aldis said, "Don't want to do that. Don't need to do it on this. I'm going to go out, the ring." And Michael Cole, who was doing commentary on SmackDown, as he's now back, I believe, on SmackDown for going forward, kind of digged at Adam Pearce and sort of said, "This is how a proper general manager works, a competent GM works." And interestingly enough, Kevin nicked the Cody Owens line, which was, "What do you want to talk about?" And Kevin was saying that Cody had injured his knee on the European tour, and even made a point of saying that when Cody come out to do his entrance, he didn't take the knee that he normally does, part of his entrance. Actually, I didn't even realize. So again, that was good use of, storytelling, good use of actually getting you to think, oh, did he not? I didn't, I'd had to replay it to see if he was right, and he didn't take the knee as he would normally do. And that was kind of the base of this promo. It was like Kevin was trying to make comments about Cody's knee. Cody was brushing it off, didn't want to talk about it, said, "I'm fine, I'm 100%." But then goes on to kind of mention how perhaps Cody took a lot of the limelight away from Kevin, because they were talking about when Kevin won the Universal Championship, and Cody was kind of like, well, around that time I was kind of, going across the arenas. He was going to Ring of Honor. He went to TNA, and he was going into Kevin Owens' locker rooms, and he said, perhaps I got more um he gets too much. Cody's got too much credit, and Kevin Owens doesn't get enough of it. But he did also say at the end of it, and at the end of this promo, Cody says, "At the end of the match, will we still be friends?" And at that point, Kevin drops the mic, he whispers something in his ear, and walks away. They did also mention about the thing last week where with Cody looking at, when Kevin was looking like he was going to hit Cody with the belt, and Kevin brushed that off and said, "Look, everyone that I'd done it to had it coming." He said, "But I have too much respect for your family." And again, brought up his father, which is a kind of another eye roll thing. Everyone that faces Cody always mentions Dusty. And it's kind of like, look, we get that. With Kevin Owens, there is a reason for it. Kevin Owens was in NXT when Dusty was there. He was Dusty's boy in NXT. We know all of that. But when you've used it so many other times, and we know Seth Rollins was in there, Roman was in there. We know the lineage of Paul Heyman and the Samoans of Paul Heyman and Dusty and ECW. So there has been, I suppose, reasons to mention Dusty, but every single time Cody has an opponent, they bring it up. And Cody needs to be his own champion, not he's living he will always be in his dad's shadow, no matter how successful he is. He'll always be the son of a plumber. He'll always be the son of Dusty Rhodes. But what he won't be, he's been able to carve out a legacy as a champion, Cody Rhodes, when every time he has a challenger, they mention his dad. So Kevin Owens walks away at the end of the interview when Cody asks if they were going to still be friends. So we wonder what will happen at the end of their match at Bash at Berlin. I don't think it's going to be the main event, because I believe that will belong to Gunter, although Randy Orton did make a mistake the other week on Raw and said he's going to come into Gunter's backyard and hometown and win. Gunter's from Austria, not Germany. I know they're close, and Gunter will get the reaction tomorrow. Randy Orton may be the heel tomorrow in that match. Nevertheless, but Randy Orton needs to work on his geography, maybe take a few geography lessons to find out where Gunter's actually from, because it's Austria, Vienna, Austria, not Germany or Berlin for that matter. Going backstage now, and it was back to Corbin and Polo Cruz, and they were talking about being on that lose, they were being on a roll, but they've lost again. And this come out to A Town Down Under was there, and we're still waiting for the split that should have really happened a month ago, that we're still waiting for now. And they were getting in Waller was bad mouthing the team, and then mentioned that Austin Theory mentioned something which riled up Austin Theory and said, actually, who's going to be, who's the team falling apart here? Is it them or is it us? And Waller brushes it off as banter. He says, "You're my best mate," and you know, in theory says they're good. But again, we know that this is going one way. We know they're going to end up collapsing, and they should have already done so by now. I'm not sure what the big delay is with these two. Do they don't trust here Theory as a face? Are they not ready for it yet? I don't know, but it just feels like a delay tactic for some reason for WWE. Like they're not quite confident, maybe enough in Theory to do the face. Then Waller's the heel. There's no doubt about it. Grayson Waller he's a perfect heel. The way that he talks, his mannerisms, what he does, his character's perfect for the heel role. And I'm not sure why they haven't pulled the trigger yet on the match or on the split between the two teams, but perhaps between that team and perhaps they will do in the coming weeks. They have to. They can't. We can't be going into the end of the year with these two still together. They have to split, and Theory has to try and really get his career back on track because ever since that Cena promo, he has been, the shell of his former self. Cena was right. Like when he said, if you beat me at WrestleMania, you lose, and if I beat you at WrestleMania, you lose. He was spot on with that promo, and he absolutely has. It has affected Austin Theory big time. To the point where really he hasn't come back from that promo whatsoever. So they need to pull the trigger on it, and they need to pull the trigger quickly. We had about the 16th promo of Giovanni Vinci. But he will debut now. We're finally going to get to that point where Giovanni Vinci debuts on SmackDown next week. He split with Imperium. They kicked him out of Imperium. He got drafted to SmackDown. We are now going to get the Vinci debut on SmackDown next week, and we'll find out how talented he is. I think he is quite talented, to be honest. I thought the whole of Imperium were talented. We saw how good Kaiser was in the opening match tonight, and good things are coming his way. It's Vinci's turn next week on SmackDown to debut, and I hope and pray that it's a really good, strong debut for Giovanni Vinci because he absolutely deserves to be a strong debut for Gio Vinci. The fourth week in a row we've had this match, which was Andrade and Carmello. It was 2-1 in the series between the two. Andrade won the first two matches. Carmelo Hayes won the next two. I didn't know if there was a best of seven series between the two. I didn't know that was even happening, or if it was happening, or whether the matches have been so good they kept going. And this one got a real decent amount of time, and again it delivered. The only criticism I would have of it is how many times are we going to see the match before it starts to get boring? They did change it up this week. They've done some different moves this week. They've got great chemistry in the ring. The styles suit each other so well. Two great competitors. The one thing I would say, and this was for both competitors, is zero reaction from the crowd for Andrade, zero reaction from Carmelo on their entrances. It was like crickets, a little bit like DIY get, or especially Gargano out of the two. So I'm not quite sure what they have to do with that because you can't, you can have these great matches all day long, but if the fans are not behind you from the start, you're never going to get anywhere in WWE. And this is where you have to question and especially from Andrade's perspective, because Andrade was getting reactions in AEW. For whatever reason, it wasn't working for him there, whether it was, I don't know, whether could have been creative or whatever, but there was always, he was always getting a good reaction, and he did get a reaction at the Royal Rumble, but generally when you come back from when you return to WWE or you make your debut, is if you're known by the fans, you'll get that reaction. It's just continuing every week. And it's not happening for him week in, week out on WWE television. Carmelo Hayes, I was quite surprised didn't get a reaction either. And I was really high up on the Carmelo Hayes, and I still am. But is that another case of an NXT call up which just perhaps wasn't ready or wasn't needed? I don't think you should call these guys up unless you have a solid plan for them. Now, I know the last 4 weeks, I said this is the fourth week now, 3 weeks, last 3 weeks in a row, we've had this match and it's always delivered. This match has very much delivered again. But with Carmello, it's like, would he not have been better in NXT with the fact that we're seeing the TNA guys come in? They could have, they put a program together with him, doing a bit of TNA as well as WWE. But yeah, this week Carmelo did pick up the victory and leveled it up at 2-2. It was nothing but net finisher, the big leg drop move off the top rope. Um, which, was again great finish, a great match. But I just right, and again, I say this week in, week out when I say about SmackDown, it's so difficult on this show when it's I mean, even this week, it wasn't dominated by Bloodline, wasn't really dominated by Cody, and it didn't deliver for me as a show that was, kind of thinking, well, if it's not delivering, and it was getting boring with the Bloodline a little bit because it's, going through the motions, and we're not getting to that. We know there's another part of the story to come, but we got to get to it, and it's not delivering with that. And then you think for 1 week, we'll push that to the side and we'll give our people a chance. And it didn't really deliver again. Got a problem. And this was what we was talking about on this channel before. Me and Andy used to say we didn't think the WWE was ready for the bloodline to finish and for Roman to lose. And the argument is very much still there that they're not. And this SmackDown was a prime example of it. It just was boring, really. The matches were okay. Don't get me wrong. The matches were reasonably good matches, but yeah, it just didn't. It was very. It just felt weak. It was one, as I said, it's probably the weakest international broadcast of SmackDown they have done. And where's AJ Styles? Where's him? Again, you look at wrestlers that are sitting on the back from SmackDown doing nothing. Can they not send AJ to TNA? Can they not bring AJ down to NXT and let him do a program with a TNA guy? Or why not? What's instead of leaving him at home, there must be something they can do with him. It just is baffling at the minute. And SmackDown's in the need of a bit of sprinkling because it's not great at the minute. The main event itself was a women's championship match it was a street fight for the women's championship match with Nia Jax against Michin. I just wanted a quick side note actually at the start of the show. LA Knight, he was the same color as an orange Quality Street rapper. Not quite sure what they're doing for tanning over there, but it really didn't look good for LA Knight. He looked like a Quality Street rapper this week. Anyway, moving on. I should have mentioned that at the start. Moving on to the street fight at Nia Jax, and Nia Jax brung the weapons to ringside. The champion come out first, which was a little bit unusual. We normally have champions come out, but then again, LA Knight come out first for his title match at the start of the show. They were using tables, they were using trash cans, fire extinguishers. Nia goes through the table that they set up at one point. Out comes Tiffany Stratton. She nails Michin with the briefcase. And you're thinking at this point, is she cashing in because she's looking at the ref's looking at her, she's looking back at the ref, and you're like, and you kind of knew that she wasn't going to do it because the whole looking at the ref, looking at her, and you're like, well, just hand it in. It's an ideal situation. As she looks at Nia to sort of, think, well, is she ready? Nia glances up at her. And then Tiffany shits herself and decides not to do it, continues the battle to Michin. Out comes the returning Bailey, bites away Tiffany Stratton. There was a bit of this, and which I did notice. I'm not sure if the fan. There was a bit of an awkward spot when they were trying to do a spinning DDT onto a trash can lid. It didn't had to take two attempts. The other bit that I did notice was Michin was around the outside of the ring, pulling up the ring looking for a weapon, and in the end, she had to ask Jessica Carr, "Where is it?" Where was the trash can? Which, if you quite not saying eagle-eyed, it was pretty much obvious. If you were watching the actual match, you will see it clear as day. She ended up that trash can itself. She ended up getting put on her, and then Nia Jax hits the annihilator on the trash can, which was positioned over Michin's head to pick up the victory. And that was the main event of SmackDown. Disappointing, I think. Again, as I said, it just felt a little bit weak this week. Hopefully, as we get past Bash at Berlin, they were hyping up big time the season premiere of SmackDown on September the 13th. Roman Reigns is back for that. We should, I think, move into the new innings, so to speak, of the Bloodline storyline. Then is my belief. I'm looking forward to that one as well. They didn't really announce much next week, only about the Giovinci debut and the three-way tag for the tag team championships. Right, prediction time, everybody. Let's go and predict the matches of Bash in Berlin tomorrow night. Looking very much forward to watching it, though. We'll start with Kevin. I'm using Wikipedia for the match list. This is not necessarily a list of the match order. It could be, but we'll have to just have a look and well, we'll have to just wait and see if these matches are in the match order. But Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, it was interesting because they did start off. I'm pretty sure they started off. I'm not sure if it's the last pay-per-view SummerSlam, maybe with the Raw title. So perhaps this is right because, to be fair, it would be a good idea to start with this match on tomorrow because the main event should be Gunter Randy Orton. Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens. It's pretty obvious for me on this one. It's going to be Cody that retains that one, is my belief. There's nothing in a Kevin Owens championship win at this time anyway. So my belief, Cody Rhodes picks up the win. Does Kevin turn heel? I suppose there is an option for that. I'm not sure again because of the situation that we're in. I think more so that they show respect at the end of this match, more so than Kevin turns heel. They've been teasing the heel turn, I think, too much for Kevin to turn at the end of this one. So I don't believe Kevin Owens turns heel at the end of this match, but I do believe Cody Rhodes wins and they shake and hug at the end. Perhaps even the Bloodline come out and attack at the end of that match, potentially. The Unholy Union, Alba Fyler, Isla Dawn against Bianca Belair and Cargill for SmackDown Women's titles. Can't see them losing the match. I think there may be a run in during that one, actually. And they get Bianca and Jade cost the title somehow. I don't know what the point would be in giving it back to them when you took it off them. It was quite a surprise when they lost it, to be fair. So to bring it back to them so quick, I suppose they lost it in a triple threat tag team match. So you could argue they could win it back. It's just weird because Bianca Belair's been in sort of no woman's land, really, hasn't she? Since teaming with Jade, and she's normally going for titles and whatnot. And right now she's in this. I'm going to stick with the Unholy Union, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did change championships in this one. Terra Twins, Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest take on the Judgment Day's Dirty Dominic Mysterio and the Women's World Champion Liv Morgan. I'm pretty certain that Liv and Dominic will win this one. Again, we're looking to use the term running. I can see a running happening on this. Both of these matches, maybe not necessarily Damian and Dominic, maybe Damian and Finn will move on to Bad Blood in October. We've got a bit of a 3-4 week gap now before we get to Bad Blood. So perhaps Damien can have his revenge on Dominic at some point, maybe on a Raw, and then he moves to go for Finn because obviously Finn was the one that turned on Damien and cost him the World Heavyweight Championship to Gunther. So that's my thing for that. I think that the Dirty Dom and Liv will win somehow, probably cheating with a run in, and that will move on. And then Liv and Rhea could even go in the Hell in the Cell at Bad Blood. It's there. I'm pretty sure it's going to be used for another match we're going to talk about in a second, but they could use it for the women's match as well, and that would be Rhea and Liv in the side Hell in a Cell, and then Damien will get revenge on Dominic and will go for Finn Balor at Bad Blood. That is my prediction, but that match, Dominic and Liv will win. The strap match, CM Punk, McIntyre. I'm looking forward to this. Again, the build-up has been great. These two have been so good at their build-up that, regardless of what you think of Punk, it has been good. It's good to see, it's good to see him not causing any issues anyway that we're aware of backstage, and it's seemingly working out quite well. We're only not even a year into it. I know he's been out for a while in the meantime as well. Great chemistry with McIntyre. McIntyre doing his best work ever. He did beat Punk at SummerSlam, so for that reason, I'm going CM Punk to level up the story and then to go to Bad Blood in the Hell in a Cell. But what I was saying about Cody and the title feuds, case in point, McIntyre Punk, brilliant feud, great. They've had a story behind it. Drew McIntyre's hated Punk since Punk walked out the first time. Punk has gone elsewhere and caused mayhem, and WWE have let him back in, and now he wants a title, and Drew's like, well, what the hell's going on? That is classic storyline telling from the WWE, and that is what they should be doing with Cody, and they're not. And kudos to both of these two for paying it off because it's worked fantastically. But for me, Punk wins. I don't think he gets the bracelet back yet. I think that comes at Bad Blood when he does pick up the victory at Bad Blood as well and will then get the bracelet back. So Gunter and Randy Orton for the World Championship. Now, this has got an interesting stipulation here, which I didn't actually know about, unless Wikipedia is lying, of course. It says if Orton wins the championship, he will be drafted to Raw and Gunter will be drafted to SmackDown. I did not know that. Now, that has thrown up a few interesting bits here. I don't think Randy Orton wins, but at least, and they haven't spoken about this, I don't think, on WWE, which is quite bad because no one in like, everyone's predicting Gunther to win this match. But if WWE had started emphasizing that change, if it happens, and they've not done it that I'm aware of, and I could be wrong, and if I am, I apologize. But they've not, or even if they have spoken about it, they haven't made it a big enough deal to warrant you thinking Randy's got a chance. If they had started kept on about saying, well, if Randy wins, he goes to Raw, we get Gunther on SmackDown, then you would then have a seed of doubt being placed. And that's what they haven't done for me. They haven't done enough of it anyway. Even if they have done it, it's not been utilized enough. That stipulation. I didn't know that. I fully expect Gunther to retain. I think Randy Orton will go back to SmackDown, and then we may get the feud that we're looking for Cody Rhodes, that being Randy Orton. I think that would be brilliant, and that can be a long feud. It can be over time. It'll have a background to it. It'll have some meaning to it. There'll be everything it needs for a great feud, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes. But I wish they had made more of that stipulation because that would have been awesome. And it would have at least played a little seed of doubt into the minds of us, the fans. But look, guys, SmackDown is off the air now. It was okay. Or, it wasn't great. Didn't pull up any trees. It wasn't particularly bad. It was all right. As I said, the weakest international show they've done. Sets it up though for Bash in Berlin tomorrow. Looking forward to that. We'll be watching that. We'll be reviewing that, I think, on Monday. We'll be at Revolution Pro Wrestling on Sunday. If you're there, come and say hello. But guys, we'll be back with some more review shows, with some more interviews. We just announced Candice Michelle's coming on soon. But for everybody, have a good weekend. I'll be back tomorrow. You actually be back tomorrow. I'll be reviewing TNA Emergence in the morning. So come back and have a listen for that 60-minute Iron Man match. Nick Nemeth, Josh Alexander, TNA Plus app. Go and download it if you haven't already done so. Have a good weekend, everybody, and I will be back soon. Buckle down, stay safe, and good night.